When we think of the Mafia, names like Al Capone and Lucky Luciano often come to mind. But before them, there was one man who pioneered the underworld on two continents. Today, we dive into the life of a man who shaped the Mafia into a global empire. Born in 1862 in the heart of Sicily, Vito Cascio Ferro grew up in a land where power and influence were often seized by force. Sicily, plagued by poverty and corruption, became the perfect breeding ground for a young man with ambition, intelligence, and a ruthless streak. As a young man, Cascio Ferro saw opportunity in the chaos. He rose quickly through the ranks of local criminal groups, aligning himself with powerful men, and by the early 1900s, he was already becoming a key figure in the Sicilian Mafia. His power came not just from violence, but from cunning and manipulation. He forged alliances with politicians, judges, and police. But Cascio Ferro's ambitions didn't stop in Sicily. At the turn of the century, waves of Italian immigrants were arriving in the United States. Among them were mafia members looking to expand their criminal empires. In 1901, Vito Cascio Ferro moved to New York, where he quickly took control of mafia operations. He worked with American mafia bosses, organizing extortion, smuggling, and protection rackets. Cascio Ferro wasn't just a thug, he was a tactician. He introduced a hierarchical structure to the Mafia, a model that allowed him to control operations both in Italy and the US. He became the bridge between the two worlds, making him one of the first truly international Mafia bosses. But with great power came great enemies. In New York, law enforcement was beginning to take notice. One of the most famous stories tied to Cascio Ferro is the 1909 murder of Detective Joseph Petrosino. Petrosino was one of the first law enforcement officers to realize that organized crime was not just a local problem, but a national issue. Petrosino was put in charge of a special Italian squad in the NYPD that focused specifically on combating mafia activity among the Italian-American community. He relentlessly pursued members of the Mafia and made it his mission to stop the flow of criminal influence between Italy and the US. Petrosino believed that many of the criminals causing havoc in New York, including mafia leaders like Cascio Ferro, had their roots in Italy. He was convinced that in order to truly dismantle mafia operations in the US, he needed to cut them off at the source in Sicily. In 1909, Petrosino embarked on a secret mission to Sicily under orders from the NYPD. His task was to gather intelligence on mafia leaders, including Vito Cascio Ferro, and to build a case for their deportation or prosecution. Unfortunately, word of Petrosino's mission leaked. His arrival in Palermo was no longer a secret, and it's widely believed that Don Vito, with his deep connections and power in Sicily, quickly learned of the detective's presence and saw him as a threat. Vito quickly understood the danger Petrosino posed to the Mafia's international operations. On March 12, 1909, while waiting to meet with a secret informant in Palermo, Joseph Petrosino was ambushed and shot to death in the Piazza Marina. He became the first NYPD officer to be killed in the line of duty outside the United States. His murder sent shockwaves through both New York and Italy. It was rumored that Cascio Ferro himself ordered the hit, a move that would make him a legend in mafia lore. Despite his global empire, Cascio Ferro's luck would eventually run out. In the 1920s, Mussolini came to power in Italy, and the fascist government cracked down on organized crime. In 1930, Cascio Ferro was arrested and imprisoned for life, despite never being formally convicted of most of the crimes he was believed to have committed. Cascio Ferro would die in prison in 1943, a shadow of the feared mafia kingpin he once was. Yet his influence on the mafia's global structure and his role in turning the organization into an international criminal syndicate still lives on. Vito Cascio Ferro might not be as well known as the American mafia legends, but his name strikes fear across continents. He was the original architect of a criminal empire that stretched from the back alleys of Sicily to the streets of New York. And though he's long gone, his legacy remains embedded in the mafia's very core. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden world of organized crime. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.